It's been a while since we've seen Auburn football live and in action, but they shook the dust off today and come away with a 30-17 win over Tennessee. We're going to break it down for you right now with my coworker, my guest, Matt Zenitz, helping me out with some post-game for Auburn tonight. So, Matt, an important game for Auburn for a couple of reasons. Obviously, it's a tune-up for a really big and important game next week, which we'll talk about later in the show. But, first time back out there in basically 3 weeks for Auburn. A lot has happened in the meantime. But, the last time we saw them on the field, there was a lot of positive energy coming in with this team. There was a lot of momentum, it felt like. In general, I think, how do you feel like Auburn is feeling walking away from this game tonight?
Well, first of all, I know how I'm feeling right now, and it's a tremendous honor to be on this video with somebody who looks so much like a young version of Billy Joel, which you can follow up on when you get back on the screen. But in terms of Auburn, the most important part for them is that they extended their winning streak to 3. They're 5-2 going into the Iron Bowl. Was it a perfect performance? No, but at the same time, they found a way to pull out the win, overcame the early 10-point deficit, overcame the early loss of Tank Bigsby, obviously a prominent, important player for them. And even though the defense gave up some yardage, I think Tennessee ended up with more than 400 yards in terms of total yardage, got some big plays and key moments from that defense, including specifically, obviously, the 100-yard pick six from Smoke Monday. That was a huge, huge turning point in that game.
It's kind of been how Auburn has lived and died all year, if you think about it, Matt. To me, I think this is a team that is built on having those big game-changing defensive plays. This defense maybe isn't as consistent play-to-play as we have seen some of the other recent Auburn defenses. But to me, I think this team's big play ability and their ability to sort of change the entire momentum of a game instantly with turnovers, with big negative plays. This team sort of that part of this team defensively, I think, stands out to me. Talking about the offense, though, let's visit that really quickly first. I think one thing that we felt like Auburn was doing particularly well coming into this game was running the ball. They ran into a couple of issues. I would say this is certainly not Auburn's best ground performance of the season, and a lot of that does have to do with the fact that Tank Bigsby got banged up early in this game.
Yeah, but I agree with you, just starting with the defense, about them being opportunistic and making big plays. So you have Smoke Monday, who had the pick six, obviously, and even though more so than anything else, I think they struggled to stop Tennessee's running game. Eric Gray, I want to say, finished with like 170 rushing yards or something like that. They did limit Tennessee from a passing game perspective. So Jarek Garantano only threw for 150 yards, something along those lines. Struggled enough against that Auburn defense that they ended up pulling him in favor of their freshman quarterback, Harrison Bailey. But, I mean, even with Tennessee moving the ball like they did, Auburn held them under 20 points, and it was an important part of this game. And then the offensive part of it, like you said, not maybe the production that they would look for, including from a running game perspective, but it does hurt, obviously, losing a guy like Tank Bigsby and not having him for the majority of the game. And the offense did enough to not only win the game, but put up 23 points, not including the Smoke Monday pick six.
Kind of, I would say.
Now we finally see the Billy Joel face. Now everyone,
you,
after a few minutes, can finally see what I'm talking about.
I was off screen for the longest time.
Yeah, you didn't want people to see.
There's your reference. But yeah, if Greg is still around from this morning, thanks for dropping a nickname that it will last at least a week for me. It sounds like
I legitimately laughed. Whoever threw that out, kudos to you.
That's right.
It made me laugh.
So let's pivot to talking about Bo Nix here, whose performance is always something that's under scrutiny every week this season. 17 for 26 for 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It's, to me, that's, again, it's kind of what we've gotten from Bo Nix all year. There's some good stuff in there. There's some not so good stuff in there. You know, what was your overall takeaway from this performance from Bo Nix? It's you know, I think it falls somewhere in the middle between his best and his worst performances of the year.
Felt like it was okay. I feel like if you combine it with the performance against LSU, that he's definitely taken a step forward these last 2 games. I obviously had struggled some the early part of the year, and it's not like this was some egregious level of performance by any means, even if it wasn't the same level as his game against LSU. So I do think he's at least at a decent point right now, combining these last 2 games heading into the game against Alabama.
If we've got a concern about this Auburn defense right now, Matt, and I understand that at least some of this was probably what we would consider to be garbage time. But there's a stat line for Tennessee that jumps out to me, and that is Eric Gray having 173 yards rushing tonight. Yep. And it did seem like he got a lot of it in big chunks and in streaks at a time. So a lot of it to me wasn't necessarily misdirection or trickery. It was Tennessee kind of running right into the teeth of the Auburn defense. Is there any cause for concern, you think, there?
Absolutely, and you took the words out of my mouth. That was one of the big takeaways with this game, was how vulnerable Auburn looked in terms of defending the run. And making it worse for them is now doesn't get any easier. So you go from struggling against Eric Gray to now having to stop arguably the top running back in the conference, one of the top running backs in the country, in Najee Harris, who had another productive outing today for Alabama against Kentucky with a couple touchdowns.
So let's go ahead and dive into the Iron Bowl, I think, Matt, because it's probably what everybody's thinking about right now. We are officially in Iron Bowl week. It snuck up on us. I feel like it didn't feel like it had the same buildup as it has most years. Maybe that's just me. I'm kind of finding myself suddenly surprised that we're a week away from the Iron Bowl. This team right now, you know, I think this is an Auburn team that's not totally unlike the 2 Auburn teams that have beaten Alabama in recent years. Last year in 2017, I mean, those were not world beater Auburn teams. They were not national championship Auburn teams. They had multiple losses. You know, let's try to focus on what is your reason for hope or optimism if you're Auburn right now heading into this Iron Bowl.
I don't know how optimistic I am. If I were a bettor, and I'm not, but if I were, I wouldn't feel confident betting on Auburn.
No, look, I mean, they're going to be the underdog for sure. Yeah. But I think if we're
– I say that. So you bring up the Auburn wins over Alabama in the Iron Bowl. So obviously have won 2 of the last 3 Iron Bowls. One of the things that sticks out, especially if you think back to the 2017 game, may not have been world beaters on offense, but at the same time, that defense was – I mean, very, very impressive, and obviously did a great job limiting Alabama. Whereas with this defense, it's not to the same level as not only 2017, but 2019 either. So I just don't know if they're going to be able to have the same kind of success slowing Alabama down. And even last year, if you look back at last year, they were, and I don't think you find many people to argue this, that they had better overall talent on that 2019 defense compared to what they have now.
For sure,
yes. Still put up in terms of their production offensively. So I think Alabama is going to have success against their defense, especially coming off of what Tennessee just did against Auburn. But at the same time, I just don't know if Auburn can do enough offensively to keep up to maybe even keep it super close throughout the course of the game. I'm not saying Alabama's going to win by 4 touchdowns or something like that, but because of what we have seen from that defense, including today in terms of Auburn, and just what we've seen throughout the course of the year with their offense, and now factoring in, we don't know what Tank Bigsby's status is at this point. I just don't know how optimistic you can necessarily feel. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, though.
No. We want honesty here. Let me ask about the other side of this matchup too, Matt. Going into the week, you know, Alabama's defense, we know for the past couple of years has not been up to the historical standards that we've known for that program during some of their national title seasons. They obviously had a pretty good game today. They held Kentucky to 3 points, but this obviously has been an Alabama team that has given up lots of yards and points over the course of this season. Where do you think Auburn's best opportunities will be in terms of scoring, moving the ball against this Alabama defense?
Yeah, first of all, hopefully for Auburn, Tank Bigsby is healthy enough to be able to play in that game, because having a healthy Tank Bigsby is a big deal. To go along with that, it's going to be a huge showcase opportunity, huge showcase game for somebody like Seth Williams. So Seth, obviously one of the top receivers in the conference, and in games like this against top teams, you need your top players to step up, and he's going to get a chance in this game now to go against arguably the top corner in not only the SEC, but in the country, in Patrick Surtain. So that'll be an important part of things for Auburn to get big plays from their key guys like Seth, and overall just putting up enough offensively in terms of production, points, all of that, to be able to keep up with an Alabama offense. It's going to be tough to slow down.
Possibly another shootout style game to what we saw a year ago, and I guess we've had a couple of those in recent years.
Hey, Gus has a good track record though, and hey, has won 2 of the last 3. So Gus has done as good of a job as anybody of finding a way to beat Nick Saban. So we'll see what he can come up with going into a game where, as you pointed out, we will obviously be underdog and probably a double-digit point underdog going into that one.
Well, a big week in Auburn. It always is every year. We will have tons of coverage for you wherever you are watching this video right now. Matt will have lots of coverage of this game on both sides of the aisle here, as it were. And I hope everybody has a nice Thanksgiving this week, a nice and safe Thanksgiving this week. But I hope you're able to spend some time with your loved ones. Matt, you as well. I know you've got a beautiful young family. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving.
I very much appreciate that. But before we sign off, can you at least give us like your favorite rendition of a Billy Joel song?
I'm definitely not.
You would sing. I love it. But you need the beard. You need one with the beard. So the picture that we had posted before was perfect. So we need to find that one. But kudos to Patrick for pulling that.
Yeah, he was on the spot with that. No, very nice. No, I'm not going to sing on a post-game show.
What would be your go-to Billy Joel song if you did have to sing though?
I would do Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, of course.
Okay. We'll save that for First Down South on Tuesday.
That's right. Maybe if how about this? If we all get COVID vaccines on that day to celebrate, I will do a Billy Joel song on live stream.